Welcome to Inspiring People. Today we have Chloe Cohen, who is going to tell us an inspiring story of her struggles and how she's been dealing with multiple sclerosis for many years now. Chloe, you want to?
Hi, everybody. My name is Chloe, and I've been living with multiple sclerosis for about 14 years now. I was 20 years old when I was diagnosed, and for me it was very quick. It was not, most people generally have symptoms and then slowly more shit starts happening and then they're diagnosed, but for me, I hit my head real hard, and that head trauma caused symptoms pretty much instantly.
So it's not genetic.
They don't know. They still don't know if it's genetic, environmental, or anything, so they're still trying to figure all that out. But, yeah, nobody in my family has it, but, like, one of the girls that I know with MS, her sister has it, and then this other girl, her father has it. So I don't know. I don't know if it's genetic or not. I don't think they know. But I will say this. When I was diagnosed 14 years ago, there's 3 drugs available to slow the progression of the disease. Now, I think I should start by explaining what MS is.
Yeah.
MS is a neurological disease that affects the central nervous system with a wide range of symptoms, from numbness and tingling to blindness in an eye to the loss of use of limbs to chronic pain. And every single person with the illness is different in how it affects them. There's no 2 people who deal with it exactly the same way. But before these drugs came out, there was no way to slow the progression of the illness. So that's why there's such an older generation of people with MS in wheelchairs, because they didn't have the benefit of these drugs that slow the progression, because it is a constantly flowing. You never know what's going to happen. I've been now in remission for 4 years, and it's like a new life, because for 9 years of my life it was this up and down thing of what's going to happen tomorrow, this symptom still going to be here tomorrow, or what's going to happen tomorrow. So I very much learned how to excuse me, live in the moment, not worry about the future as much. But it's only because I went through all of that that brought me to this point. But I'm definitely a lucky one. I was very disabled initially. When I hit my head, it basically just jarred everything loose that was loose. Or I probably had, when I look back at my childhood before I even had MS, I can recall things that happened during that, where like my feet would go numb in the shower in high school, but I didn't even consider it because they'd come back to life, Only until I was diagnosed with MS did I go, maybe that was connected, But, I don't know. I don't know. In my theory, I probably had this since I was born. And it probably came up all through my life, but didn't get that diagnosis until I initially hit my head and had this like fast bang. I can't use my left side. I had a constant tremor. I had vertigo, so it was like being wasted drunk all the time, but you're not drunk, so you didn't get the benefit of the drunkenness. You just got the bad stuff.
How many years did you suffer from the really bad symptoms?
Luckily, it was only about maybe 6 months to a year where it was really bad. I was lucky because, as soon as they, discovered that it was MS, and I got put on medication, and really the only thing that they have is steroids, and steroids will calm the inflammation or whatever that's happening. So getting on an oral dose of steroids relieved my tremor relatively, and I was on a bunch of other drugs, like this drug called Antivert, and I don't even know what the heck it is, but it was something like, we're going to straighten you out. So I didn't have vertigo anymore. So I gave credit to the medical establishment for having these drugs available, but never was quite enough. And I found marijuana to be one of the only things that relieved me from these constant annoyances. At least brought me to a more accepting place, I guess you could say, where it's like, okay, if I have to deal with this for 24/7, then I can, as much physically as the marijuana was doing, the cannabis was doing, of calming my tremors and taking away my discomfort, it was also bringing a psychological relief that, what, I can handle this and deal with this, and this is my life, and I'll move. I'm not worry about the future so much. But my story really is important because, within 20 minutes my life flipped. I had hit my head, and now I couldn't use my left side, and I was a cellist. This is what I was going to college for. I was going to study music. I was going to be in like a rock band, rocking out on the cello, That's what I thought. But then, whoops, yeah, I had to revamp my life. And, I was very angry for a very long time because I think anyone who gets their passion ripped from that quickly, anybody who has any kind of instant loss appreciates every little thing a little bit more because you know what it's like to lose it. And I think it took me a lot of therapy and a lot of like awesome conversations with people who get it to be able to be at this point. But I did start a support group here 8 years ago for younger people with MS because all the support groups were full of old, bitter, angry people because they never got the benefit of the medication until maybe, 15 years into their MS game, and it has taken its toll already. So there's only so much. There's no repair of what's been taken away. They're working on it. How to, figuring out ways to repair that myelin that's done. Because when you have myelin, left this major point out, you have lesions on your brain. So those lesions then form symptoms in whatever area of the brain they're covering. Yet, but the disease is the demyelinization of your nerves, and that's what caused them to be sent all improperly and things. So when you have MS, there's no myelin around your nerves, and the messages get screwed up. But what I have learned after not walking to being where I'm at now, there's no way I could have done that without the concept of neuroplasticity. And I think that's so important. Like, our brains are so powerful, and we are capable of anything, if you put your mind to it. And what I have proved to myself, as well as, I guess, if the medical establishment would have studied me, but there's no study of me, what I have done is recarved new pathways in my brain. So now I'm using my left hand, and it's never going to be the same. I'm never going to be able to play the cello like I did. But at the same time, I can use it now. I mean, there was 9 years I didn't use it. And it's only through this, like, persistence I have of exercise and pushing myself. And I think it helps because I was an athlete before I got MS. So I had this, like, competitive, I'm a hard ass kind of thing in me. because I played soccer for many years, and we were really good. You know, our team was good, and so I have that that hard-ass attitude of just, like, keep pushing, keep pushing. And the hard part with MS is, like, your energy is greatly depleted. And I know for me and a lot of the people, when they're first diagnosed with the illness, that they can't do this stuff the same way they did it before. They have to figure out how to adapt to this new world of not being able to do things yourself. And when you're a stubborn, hard ass that I was, there was no way in hell I was going to have to ask someone to change my light bulb. But it was at a point where I had to ask. The light bulb would not get changed if I didn't ask someone to do it for me. And what I also had to realize is that generally people like helping other people. It gives them a sense of worth, you know. And where I looked at it is like it's a downfall for me that I can't do it myself. What they're getting from it is like, we like helping people. It makes me feel good about myself. And I know, you know, when I can help people with stuff that they don't know anything about, whether it be DJing, music technology, or MS for that matter, you know, it feels good to know that, like, I have something to give these people. And so, like, for many years I beat myself up being like, well, I can't do it myself, but that attitude really got in the way of my growth, you know. I think you really have to learn that. I don't even know. I think I'm lucky that I was able to adapt successfully. You know, I've reached a point now that, you know, the MS isn't the center of my life, which it was for many, many years, 10 years. And it was like that was everything I did. It was about MS. It was about having, first of all, graduating college. I mean, I couldn't be the music major because I couldn't even play anymore. So I changed into a speech communications major because I wanted to learn how to affect people effectively with my words and let them hear me and not sign off. So I thought it was important to learn the art of communication and how to communicate effectively to affect people. And I think I did that really well. And I know I'm doing it really well because my story is special and unique in the sense that it happened so quickly. But if there's a will, there's a way. I mean, the fact that I couldn't walk and I went skiing and now I'm riding an elliptical machine, like, what the hell? Like, excuse me, but, like, you know, it's just mind-blowing to me. Every day it's a mind-blowing experience, like brushing my teeth in the morning. Could never do that with two hands, and now I can. And so every morning when I brush my teeth, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm doing this. And that's just a little thing, but it's like, I appreciate that stuff. Tying my shoes, couldn't tie them for a good 9 years. So now I tie my shoes, and I'm proud to tie my shoes. You know, it's appreciating those little things. And I wouldn't have had that perspective. I wouldn't have known this. I wouldn't be enlightened as much without the losses that I've had. And I think Ram Dass said it, that, you know, through his strokes brought him closer to enlightenment because now he had a new perspective. You know, now he saw what it was like, you know, on the other side or whatever. And I think it's been my duty to kind of let people look through a different lens for a minute and see, you know, look at themselves in that regard. I mean, most people don't ever think about things like that happening, you know, but the fact is they do, and they could happen to any of us at any moment, yet we're so concerned about the future or so stuck on the past that we're not living in the moment. And, like, right now I'm appreciating this moment to be able to speak freely and let people know to just kind of appreciate what they have a little more. Because people, you really don't know what you have until you lose it. And I think it's so important for people to appreciate what they have. And you're never going to, hopefully, you never have to go through that, of learning what it's like to lose all that stuff, because it's not easy. And it was only through some intense EMDR therapy, which is eye movement therapy, that I got peace with the fact that I can't play the cello like a, symphony cellist anymore, But that is some intense stuff. For anybody who's dealt with trauma, it's mainly for trauma. But I will tell you, I didn't go through war. I didn't have some horrific incident happen to me. But at the same time, I went there because I was in a car accident. And the car accident was because of this darn tremor. And I thought for a brief second I could use my other hand to grab something, but in that brief second my arm jerked and whoof, there went the car and we flipped in. I lost my 2 dogs in the car accident. It was very traumatic. But, so I was going to go, and I was like, I'm never driving again. After that happened, I was like, nope, screw the car. But so I went into this therapy thinking I was going to work on my driving. But what I realized was how connected it was to having MS and the trauma that I went through with my diagnosis. Because, I was only 20 years old. My brain was not yet developed. So it was pretty impactful when all you know is no longer, But I'm also very thankful because I had an amazing family to help me through it all. That's a key piece. But this was also why I started my group, because I don't think that anybody needs to deal with that stuff alone. And fortunately now there's, 7 drugs available versus the 3 that were available before. And those 3 are only injectables. I think now, only in the last couple of years, I don't even know, I'm kind of out of the loop with the medication because my medication has worked for me the whole time, and I'm really lucky. But I know that there's 1 or 2 oral medications out now. All the rest are injectables. And that's a big deal. That's probably one of the harder things. It was having to know I have to get poked in my butt every 4 days or whatever. And, for a lot of people, it's so interesting how everybody's so different with these injections. I have one friend that was is adamant, I'm never letting people do this to me. I have to do this for myself. It's my medication. And then there's someone like me that's I can't even look at the needle. So I need someone else to do this for me. And, 14 years later, I still have someone else do it for me because any way to make it easier for yourself, if I'm going to have to do injections in my butt, intramuscular, I'm talking big needles, I don't want to see the needle. I don't even want to know. But even to this day, I don't do it myself. I have a nurse do it. I'm really good at it at this point. I mean, so much practice. And I think I have enough needles now that we're about equal on the coverage.
Wow.
But I think, I'm going to promote myself, and I am a DJ. And I did transform that classical skill of music into my turntablism. It's vastly different. It's a different sound. And it was a huge loss to me to not be able to create my own sound. And even being on turntables, it's someone else's music that I'm playing. But what I've learned is that nobody else can make it sound the way I'm making it sound, because it's the art of the mixer. And it's really about hearing and the harmony. This tattoo right here represents harmony because, and I have one on the back of my neck that was initially made out of 2 bass clefs in a infinity symbol, right? But the tattoo artist was not a musician, and he put the dots on the wrong side, and I was like, oh, can we just like, so he just made it an infinity symbol. But it still has the same meaning to me, and that is that the music is never lost in me. No matter if I can play that or not, I will forever hear it, I will forever feel it. And that's what I put into my turntablism. You know, I'm not a big scratcher. Although I must admit the other day I was fucking around and I scratched some of this Saudi Arabian music into this house. It's pretty hot.
Wow.
But, you know, that was just like, I don't know if I could do that again. It was kind of in the moment. But I am able to let out my creativity through the turntables now. And it took me a long time to get to this point. But now I know that the sounds I'm creating, whether it, you know, and it's all other people's music, but the way I'm manipulating their music is an art within itself. And I think that there's plenty of DJs these days that just use a stupid program that does it all for them, and they just click and stuff. But they've lost the art form of what it really is. And I think if you go back to like the original people who were DJs, they were musicians, and they were creating their own sound, and unfortunately technology's kind of moved faster, and so all these kids are trying to be DJs, and it's kind of funny to me because they don't even know how to match a beat, but you know, teach their own. And I do not judge. Bullshit, I totally judge. I'm the first to say that. It's like, if you don't know how to match a beat, why are you even trying? But, you know, that's a whole nother show. But I think the message I want to leave with, I guess you could say, would be, you know, stay positive. That's the only way I got through all this stuff, was by staying positive, and I kept pushing, and I was like, bring it on. Now I'm at a point, I'm like, bring it on. You know, what else are you going to do with me? You know, I don't really, you know, I can beat it, whatever it is, you know. And yes, I may have this illness for the rest of my life, but I'm not going to let it run me, and I'm not going to let it control me. But, you know, at the same time, I say that, and there's definitely lots of restrictions it puts on you. I mean, when you have chronic fatigue and you're sleeping 18 hours a day, it's going to be hard. You're not going to be able to hold down a job, more or less like relationships. That's a whole nother ball game. So it's like you really have to learn how to adapt. And a lot of it is adapting to other people, because especially like now, even now, like I do not look like I have an illness or anything wrong with me at all. And then I have a drink and I look like I'm wasted. And I've been called out of bars. Even a few months ago, I got cut off at a bar because the bartender saw me stumbling, and I was like, but I have MS. And it's like, I don't have it tattooed. I wear a bracelet now that says I have MS, because I carried a card that I had an MS, but this is much more like, bang, you don't have to like struggle with getting it out of your wallet or whatever. But, you know, it's all the invisible symptoms that nobody sees, and that's what I want to make visible, is that with this illness, you can't see the pain they're in, the struggles they're in, feeling like they have a tight belt around their waist, you know, 24/7 or whatever. You know, for me, it was a shaky arm. So, you know, there's always tricks to disguise it. I just sat on my arm, because whenever I'd bring it out, it was like flopping in the wind. So you learn tricks. But I think that a lot of people, it's really hard for a lot of people because they don't want to accept it, you know. And, you know, what is it, the 5 stages? Were you a psych major?
Yeah.
Okay, spit them out. Denial, anger, I don't know, what are those, all those stages you go through. You go through that stuff with an illness. It's like, okay. Because, like, that first year, I drank so much booze, so many beers, because it was so much easier to say, no, I'm just drunk, instead of I've got this illness that's making me all uncoordinated. Alcohol was awesome for making me deny the fact that this stuff was going on, to a degree. And then I was really angry, because I was on a college campus, and everybody was so young and stupid and took advantage of it. I was just angry. I was like, everybody's stupid. But then after I got over the anger, I, became accepting of it, and I knew that the anger wasn't getting me anywhere. Any of these, or the sadness for that matter, any of these emotions wasn't taking me to a place of peace with it. And I really think that because of that EMDR therapy, I became at peace with it all, and it still sucks. I'm never going to say it doesn't suck, but, fortunately for me, the only thing I have to deal with is injections. I don't have, my tremors calm enough now. All my symptoms are pretty regulated. So it's like a new lease on life, I feel.
Are there
and so,
different types of MS?
What?
Are there different types of MS?
Yes. Thank you for asking. There are, and that's what a lot of people don't know. And the majority of people with MS have relapsing remitting MS, which is one that comes and goes as it pleases. But these drugs prevent the quicker going down, and kind of trick the brain into the thinking the stuff that isn't. But then there's progressive and secondary progressive, which are the really debilitating kind, and the kinds with the people in the wheelchairs and the people that get bedridden. And unfortunately, there's no medication for them. So this is my bigger concern now, because they've got all of us relapsing, remitting people pretty much under control. But it's these people that just keep getting worse and worse and worse. And, that's the hardest part of MS to watch or even talk about. Because, like, when I started this support group 8 years ago, there was a few people in there with progressive MS. And, they started coming to the meetings and they were okay. They might have had a little tremor, but we all had tremors at that point. So it was like, yeah, but we could relate to each other. And one of these guys I got very close with, and he had progressive, or he still has progressive. I should not speak of him that way. But just the quick downfall of his system and how it just fell apart, so he comes to this meeting and maybe he's got a little tremor. The next month he comes and he's got optic neuritis in one eye. One eye is just looking out that way, and then it's like, that sucks. It's another symptom. Then the next month later, he's not even walking, he's using canes. And then the month after that, he's in a wheelchair. And now this guy is totally bedridden, to where his mom has to feed him and bathe him, and his independence has been taken, and it's really hard. Because then I'm like, well, how did I get so lucky? Why am I so lucky that I could get better? If I could have just given him half of my recovery or whatever, we'd both be in better places. But that's not how it works. But for me, that's my biggest motivation, for all of these people with MS who really can't do it anymore. Like, I'm going to keep pushing harder, and I'm going to ride that elliptical machine because I can, damn it. And, for me, that was such a huge thing, because that elliptical machine and I were enemies. My left and right body did not work together. That whole piece of my brain was kind of messed up. So an elliptical machine was the best example of the left and right brain working together at the same, that's total coordination right there. And
Do you want to talk about who pushed you to do the elliptical?
What?
Do you want to talk about who pushed you to do the elliptical?
Oh, my trainer. God bless my trainer, because I met him 5 years ago.
Wow.
And I wasn't using my left arm. I could walk, but I had very little coordination and balance, so I always looked like I was kind of drunk, which is fun in public. But he understood right away that this was a neurological disease and it wasn't about my muscles, because the trainer I had before him was like a total jock, and he was like, I'm going to whip you into shape, and like, he definitely put some muscle on me, but there was no neuro pathways being carved. So when I got this trainer, he got it, and he was just challenging me with motions that I hadn't been doing for 9 years, with using my arm and bringing it out and acting as if I'm lifting my dog and putting him on a shelf over here, which was a motion I didn't do. But from doing this and repetitively for years, it's like now I'm throwing medicine balls with my left hand, and it's only because he's kind of he's an awesome trainer, because he's fun. He have fun. That's the best piece of it. He makes games out of everything. And being the athlete that I was, I want to be like, no, I can do it. He's like, you're done. I'm like, no, I got to do it one more time just to prove to myself I can do it. But so we got this elliptical machine, and I just looked at it for months. Like, it's over there, and that's there for other people. And then finally, one day, he was like, do you want to even try and ride this? I was like, I don't know. You think I can? I mean, he has gotten me to this point, and I got on, and I was riding it, and it was the weirdest feeling in the world, because both my left and right were working simultaneously together, which never happened for 14 years. So, yeah, it was pretty darn amazing. I was just like, I was freaking out, and I'm surprised I didn't start bawling in front of him. But it was also awesome for him, because he was like, I'm doing my job, and I'm good at this, And I have to give him credit, because, if I had been working out by myself all this time, I wouldn't have seen any of these improvements. But because I have this guy on my side that's, like, pushing me and challenging me and keeping me motivated, that's the biggest thing. Like, I have no motivation to go to the gym. I hate the gym. I don't mind going to look at the sexy men, but there's a lot more unattractive men than sexy men, so screw that. But, it's really about me and my personal gain. I just feel very lucky and blessed, and I think that everybody needs to kind of take a moment and appreciate all the things they have until you lose it. I wish I would have known, If I would have known that was going to happen to me, I probably would have been playing my cello every day, multiple times a day, and doing all this stuff, but I was just a stupid kid, and I didn't realize that anything like that could ever happen.
Nobody knows. Nobody.
No, they don't. But I think that I'm trying to kind of change the face of MS a bit. I'm trying to show the positive side, not all this people in wheelchairs and all negative, because that really is the older generation of MS, and it's not like that anymore. I mean, the support group that's still running, I mean, there's new people coming in every month, and they're all at different levels in dealing with their illness. Some of them, there was one girl a few months ago who hadn't even been diagnosed yet, but she knew it because her father had MS, and she knew. And, watching her go through that whole process of getting the diagnosis, having to adapt, taking these injections, and being there, knowing that just being able to connect with other people about it helps so greatly. Like even that, the guy with progressive MS, I think one of our most bonding moments was just standing in his kitchen, and he fell, and he's like, damn, don't you hate it when the earth moves out from underneath you? And I'm like, oh my God, I love this guy. Like, I had experienced that too, but it's very rare that you're going to meet someone who has experienced that without being drunk, you know what I'm saying? And it's very... I know that guy and I are forever in each other's hearts because I think we were both like the first people who had the same illness who could relate. And he was like a track star and all this before the MS affected him. So he also lost his passions. But we also learned to adapt. And, whether I was going to be this rock star cellist or not, it's like life has led me this direction, and I can only go forward and spread the positive stuff. And that's what I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to affect people and let them know, you're not alone, and there isn't a cure for this illness, so it'd be nice if there was, so help us get there and help. It's interesting because I think more and more now, if I say I have MS, somebody's like, oh, my sister has MS, my aunt has MS. Somebody knows somebody with MS. And I'm glad that's the case because people, 14 years ago didn't even know what it was. And it's nice to know that people are actually getting diagnosed faster, which is helpful because they can get on drugs faster and avoid giant relapses, I guess. And I don't know.
Did you have to change your diet at all?
No. That was the one thing I was adamant about not doing. I'm like, you can take away my cello, my bike, my snowboard. You can take away all those things, but I'm still eating cheese. Like, as long as I was healthy, and I eat well, but I never eliminated anything in my diet because, when I was first diagnosed, there was many theories, like, oh, she just, would go to a vegan diet. She would never have any issues. It would help. Or if she took all the mercury out of her fillings, because they thought that could be related. And so it was like all these theories. And after, I think, being bombarded so young with all these theories of ways to prevent stuff from happening, I was like, no, like, whatever I'm doing, like, it's fine. Like, I can't control this illness, so I'm not going to change my diet if it's not really in the way. Like, I never adapted my eating any differently. But although at the same time, I know a lot of people who in the MS community who have, and they said it's made a huge difference. So I think everybody's different in that regard. I'm not a person to change their eating habits just because I like to eat, and I know I don't eat really poorly, so that's good. I'm pretty healthy. But I really think that exercise has been the biggest help in my treatment or my healing, if you will, I think that's the only way I could get to this point. So.
How did your family understand the difficulties that you were looking at in the future?
Wow. The worst was my mom was a therapist for many years, and she had a client who had MS, who was a ballerina, and then all of a sudden couldn't do ballet anymore. And so my mother really knew more than anybody about the illness, and at this point, I think, like, I'm trying to think. I think that her client probably had progressive MS, and I did not, so that was good. But still, my mother knew the horrors of what this could mean, and so for her, it was way worse than for anyone else because she knew all the bad stuff, and she was like, "Great, my daughter now has to deal with all this." But I think in those initial couple of years, I got so close with them because they were the only support system I really had. You know, I was sleeping 18 hours a day. I was only up sporadically, and like my friends are all turning 21 and hitting the bars, and it's like I can't do that anymore. So I became very close with my parents. And I'm very lucky that I got that opportunity to do it, and that they were cool enough to listen to me bitch as much as I did, because I needed that. I think everybody who gets dealt a hand of cards like that, you know, you got to be able to bitch. And that's mostly why I started the support group. I'm like, people need a place to feel safe to bitch, because my poor parents got to hear every little crappy thing that I felt about everything, you know, and everything turns negative, and it's all a big spiral effect. When one thing goes wrong, everything and just goes on and on. But luckily, they were kind enough to just let me bitch. And my mom would smack some sense into me on occasion and be like, "Chloe, you know, but at the same time, she's a brilliant woman." Because, like, this Christmas when I went skiing with my paralyzed friend who was like, I'm getting you on skis. I was like, what? He's like, I can do it. You can do it. And I'm like, shit, like, he can't even use his right side. I can do this. So he got me on skis, and it was very powerful.
Wow.
But my mother was like, you know what, Chloe? I was freaking out because I had just heard bad news about my one friend from the group who had the progressive MS, and now he's bedridden and all this, and it was really overwhelming for me. And my mother was so awesome because she was like, Chloe, you know, you were going to go skiing today. You can go skiing today. So I want you to go skiing and do this for people like him, because he can't. And it just pushed me even further, and I got out there, and I skied, and I must admit, there was a moment where I'm looking up like, holy shit, look what the hell I'm doing, where I'm like, God bless you, Mike, you know, and all of you progressive people, you know, I'm doing this for you, as much as myself, but, you know, because I can do it. I mean, that's so cool. And you don't know what you got until you lose it, and be appreciative of what you got, and live in the moment. Those are my two parting phrases. Appreciate what you got, and live in the moment. And I think if you go into life with that kind of attitude, you'll be okay. But you have to also know shit's always going to happen. You can't control shit from happening, but you deal with it in the moment. You don't worry about it. You deal with it in the moment. So, yeah.
That's awesome. You've made such amazing accomplishments.
Thank you. I feel fortunate to be able to have the skill, I guess you could say, of communicating about this in an effective way without judgment. And I know that I've done my part in the MS, and I'll forever do my part in the MS community of bringing awareness and bringing hope, because I think a lot of people forget that anything's possible, and I am proof of that. And I think the more you can realize what you have, the better we'll be. I don't know. I'm just babbling now.
No. I want to share your DJ page.
Yay.
You can check Chloe out on.
Bing.
Oh, yes, here. This is Chloe's DJ page. If you go
On
on
my DJ
Plus,
page.
you type DJ CC and it'll come up. And I
Plus,
also
plus.
want to share your Face of MS page.
Yes. Thank you.
Are you starting a support group on Google Plus as well?
Yes, I have a disability support, which is not just MS. It's deafness, mental issues. You need disability in general for all who want to feel like they have support dealing with some kind of difference. Yeah. But it's really general for any kind of support, but it's for mostly disability, and that would be any kind of disability. So.
Awesome. Yeah, you can Google Face of MS or DJ CC Boom, and
That's my sign. My deaf sign, because I've got a really good deaf friend. He's like, I got a sign for you, because everybody's got the CC Boom.
Oh.
That's my name sign.
Yeah, Chloe's amazing DJ. We've heard her music, and even though it's not your own music, the way you manipulate those sounds is just awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. That's what I like to hear. Thank you, Candace.
Oh,
I really want to thank you for doing what you're doing, not just for me, but I like hearing other people's stories too, and I think it's important because this social networking thing, this Google Plus thing, is going to be ginormous, and I think that you're starting off with a bang by doing this. Keep it up. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. It makes me even appreciate what I have, because people just get so caught up in what they don't have, and
right.
they get into the media, and they just want you to keep buying, and they want you to just wish you had these things that you don't, and talking with you and other people just to make me realize I do have a lot, and I have to be grateful for what I have and what I don't have. And it's really inspiring listening to you and your story.
Awesome.
You overcame it, and how you just appreciate everything now. And I think everything happens for a reason. There's a reason for what you have. There's a reason for what everyone's gone through in life, and it just makes you that much stronger.
Definitely. No, I wouldn't be who I was if I hadn't gone through all that. I would not be nearly this cool if I hadn't faced that much loss. But it's true, because I got a perspective that most people don't get in their early 20s, because I felt like I was 80 at 20, and I slowly keep getting younger as I get older. It's kind of cool. But, I could bond with my grandmother and try and get her to use a cane and have actual evidence of why she should do it, and be like, and that, that's one of the perks to an illness, is that you can really educate people and make them appreciate what they have. And I think that's what I hope to do, and I try to do it as often as I can. So, power to the people.
I hope it gives your story everyone strength and
Awesome.
to
That's
overcome.
what I hope to do.
Yes, you're truly inspiring. And, you know, you have a good support system. I think that's so important for everyone.
Yes,
Whether
it
it's
is.
something minor in life that you're dealing with or especially something major, you must have a support system.
Yep.
It's so important. I mean, it doesn't have to be family, friends. You have your personal trainer who's, I think, is awesome. How he got you on that elliptical, that alone is just amazing.
Yeah. He's awesome. He's like my brother,
Oh.
but he's not. He's my, trainer, but he's a child of the 90s too, so he's always playing like old school 90s music, like Alice in Chains. It's pretty cool. So we can bond over that kind of stuff.
I want to thank you again for sharing your story. And,
My pleasure, Candace. Thank you for getting my story out there.
yeah, I will be broadcasting this tomorrow. If anyone wants to miss it, they can check it out. And I hope people check your Face and that MS page and your DJ page and see you the way you play those sounds. It's amazing. You have to listen to it to appreciate it. Really.
That's awesome. Thank you, Candace.
Thank you. Thank you again. We all appreciate it.
My pleasure.